Hello, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm back with another video. Guys, the social media bandwagon rolls on in Maison de Big Ed because apparently, according to all of the blogs, Big Ed and Liz are engaged to be married. And so in this video, I'm going to discuss what I think are the cynical reasons why this union's taking place. But just before I begin, very quickly, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss any of my regular reviews. And also, you can find me on Twitter at Ebird Online. And I just want to say a very big thank you to Shouting Mimi, who's one of my Twitter followers, and she actually tipped me off a couple of days ago that Big Ed was apparently engaged to Liz. My first instinct was, of course, absolute bollocks. Who would marry Big Ed after the mental abuse he put her through during that relationship? And then also, who can forget that dreadful phone call? And for those of you who haven't heard about that, I'm going to link the video that I did on that phone call below. And I thought there's no way that Liz would get back with Big Ed after that, not just after having had the phone call, but also having put it on social media and broadcasting it to the whole of the world. And for world see, sad fools that watch 90 Day Fiance, surely no woman would get back with Big Ed after this. Oh, how wrong I was. Oh guys, if you've done nothing else today, stop and think and take a moment just to be grateful that you aren't Liz. Because it's my contention that Liz is doing this all for clout. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're gathered here today to witness a momentous event. And that event is the Ebird admitting she was completely wrong. Well, I think I was wrong. It's rather unfamiliar territory for me, but it does seem as if I may well have been. I'm ashamed to say it, but I was one of those ridiculous people who supported Liz and actually thought she's met Big Ed. It wasn't what she initially wanted, but she did eventually fall in love with him, and he treated her terribly. And we should stand up for people like Liz, and we should militate against people like Big Ed, who indulge in verbal and mental abuse. I have to admit today, I was wrong. I wasn't wrong about Big Ed, of course. He's still the same scumbag I always thought he was. But guys, I really did get it wrong about Liz. And so in this video I'm going to lay out all the reasons that I think Liz is doing this whole thing entirely for clout and entirely for fame. So as we know, Big Ed met Liz in the first season of The Single Life, and she worked as a server in a restaurant that he frequented. And according to Liz, he asked every single server and every single girl in that restaurant out and asked them if they'd pretend to be his girlfriend so he could be on that season of The Single Life. And one by one, they all said no. Yeah, that's called self-respect. And Liz said she reluctantly agreed to do it, just to help out a friend. And Liz, as we know, has been married twice before, and she has a young daughter as well. And their toxic relationship lurched from argument to argument, and from accusation to counter-accusation. And it culminated in two events. One was the awful toxic phone call that we heard between Ed and Liz, and the second thing was when Ed went to Vegas and hooked up with two sugar babies, both 21 years of age. And as we know, Ed really is a horrible story. So after this colossal and unprecedented level of disrespect, what on earth would make Liz decide to accept a proposal of marriage from Big Ed? Well, I have to come to the conclusion that it's entirely for clout. And this was the view of many of my subscribers during that first season of The Single Life. And it was the contention of most of you that this torturous relationship was all horse shit. Unfortunately, the Ebird didn't listen, and for that I'm sorry, eternally sorry. And many of you asked, who in their right mind would marry someone whose attitude smells worse than a rotting corpse? And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we have the answer. Desperate, desperate Liz. If it wasn't so sad, I'd laugh. So the very first clue that it's all just for clout is the fact that Liz split up with Big Ed, and she went back to her second husband. What? Yep, that's right. According to Screen Rant, and I'll link the article at the bottom, ex-husband Saeed Camacho said the following on social media. What makes this particular situation even funnier, I hadn't realised it was funny, but go on, is that she was staying in my house for the length of their breakup, and this guy's apparently was 6 months. So of course she has her daughter, so she was staying there with her daughter. And apparently, according to Saeed, Liz would beg him to buy her a ring and wanted him to marry her again and to propose to her. And he said we got into a fight on a Friday night, and by the next Friday, she was engaged to Ed. And he said that Liz is a clout chaser and it's all for the fame, and they're both equally as desperate. So guys, I was thinking about this, and whilst it may just be the case that Liz just wants to be married, she must have a special brand of congenital idiocy to conclude that the right person to marry is Big Ed after everything that's gone on. And also the second thing which is really strange about this is 1 minute she's with the ex and her daughter's there, and then 1 week later she's back with Big Ed and she and her daughter are now living with him. So I can't help but think it must be massively discombobulating for her daughter to just be going from pillar to post on the whims of her mother. The second reason that I think this is all just for clout is the way that they announced, or in fact, the way that they didn't announce this engagement. Now usually an engagement is a happy moment in your life and you want people to know immediately, but Liz and Ed played a stupid game of cat and mouse with both the media and, I want to say with the fans, but I don't know that I can call them that, with people that keep abreast of all their fuckeries. That's what we'll call them, not fans. And it seemed that they were trying to milk the situation for as many views and likes and as much speculation as possible. So a couple of fans spotted them together, and both Liz and Ed posed for photos with the fans. And obviously these guys knew that it would end up on Insta or on social media. And when the photo duly surfaced, fans started asking, are you guys back together or are you just friends? And both people who are usually social media hungry ignored fans' questions, but continued uploading photos and continued responding to non-relationship questions. And this certainly isn't their usual modus operandi. I believe it was all done in a craven bid to garner attention. So there was quite a bit of backlash when fans thought they were just back together. But then this photo surfaced. So obviously this is Big Ed and Liz, and the girl there is Liz's daughter. And what do we see on the fourth finger of her left hand? Cubic zirconia! I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But yes, she was wearing this big, sparkling engagement ring. And this somewhat strange pose with her hand on her daughter's face is specifically designed so you can see that ring. That's my contention. But still, when fans questioned, why have you got a ring on your engagement finger? Are you guys back together? Are you guys engaged? Neither one of them, again, responded to these questions. And Ed, who usually busies himself chatting shit on the internet or licking his chops at strippers and sugar babes, decided for the first time in his life to keep stum. And so I think the reason that this happened was because, of course, there's loads more speculation to be had and loads more column inches and vlog minutes and Instagram posts and likes to be had if you don't immediately say yes. The question of are they, aren't they could have been easily answered, but no, they wanted to milk it for all it's worth. The surest sign, if ever there was, of clout chasing. And then finally, in another desperate grab for attention, Liz posted, "We're welcoming 4 paws." And obviously this sent those who follow them into a frenzy. And people were saying, are you pregnant? And then on her Instagram stories, she had a picture of her daughter cutting and tying the edges to a blanket. And Liz captioned this, "Blanket for baby brother," with loads of heart emojis, and then she said, "Our family's growing." But of course Liz wasn't pregnant. The couple had merely decided to get a new dog. And at this point I just want to take a moment out to give my deepest sympathies and my condolences on the death of Teddy, by far the most likeable thing about this family, and in fact Big Ed's only redeeming feature. And poor Teddy passed away a couple of weeks ago. And allegedly that was how Liz and Ed got back together. She apparently called him to give her condolences. I'd like to give Liz my condolences on the loss of her freaking mind. And Liz continues to post attention-grabbing posts to TikTok and Instagram. And guys, I don't mind telling you, I took the decision, and I didn't take it lightly, to make contact with Instagram. And I asked on behalf of myself, my subscribers, and everybody else in the world, if in addition to the like, save and heart button, they could add a pathetic button to Liz's profile. They said yes. There's never been a clearer need. And guys, we know this relationship can't last. Ed's a cheat, a liar and a philanderer, and I'm very sure that he'll tire of Liz, and she'll become very much less desirable post TLC spin-off. So guys, let me know what you think to all this malarkey. Do you think there's any chance whatsoever that these two miscreants will actually tie the knot? Or do you think it's just a social media stunt? I actually believe it's either a social media stunt just for views and likes, or they will get married, but Ed and Liz will try and sell a spin-off of some sort to TLC for their relationship and their wedding. And if anything, that will be the driving force behind this reconciliation. And guys, I really was going to ignore this story, but I just couldn't help myself, given that we gave all this big outpouring of sympathy to Liz when she got the awful phone call. And while this in no way exonerates Big Ed, I side-eye the hell out of Liz. And for awful, evil, misogynistic, disgusting and toxic Ed, he's ever so on brand. He just never stops. So let me know what you think in comments down below. Do you feel like Liz pulled the wool over our eyes? And do you think she's selfish for putting her daughter through this social media bandwagon? Even if it is real, why is every moment of her life and her daughter's life on Instagram? Should her daughter be going through what we know will turn out to be a toxic relationship with a person who's not ready to be in a relationship, much less ready to be a father and a husband? And also, do you think that Liz, all along now, was just looking for fame and just looking for the limelight? I've got a feeling I was wrong and that she was. And in some ways I'm very disappointed with myself that I ever felt sorry for her. I went against my better judgment and wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, but it seems like that slapped me in the face. So let me know what you think in comments down below and I'll get on with my next video. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to smash the like button. And I'll see you soon. You've been listening to Ebird Online, and I bid you good day.